I'm Shy Silverleaf and welcome back to part 6 in my massive series on how to do short rows and combining them together into darts in Tunisian crochet. This time we are going to cover how to do the full dart, which combines the left edge wedge and the right edge wedge together in a textured stitch. Let's get started. Now, some things to note as we think about our textured stitch is where exactly, how many short rows we're going to need to accomplish this versus how many are needed to help maintain the pattern. Now, what I mean by that is this particular, the dragon scale is a 2x2 repeat, which is 2 stitches wide, a simple stitch, a Tunisian simple stitch and a Tunisian purl, by 2 rows of repeat to complete it, in which we purl the simples and simple the purls. That's what I mean by two rows by 2 stitch. Okay, a 2 stitch by 2 row, 2x2 repeat. With this particular one, I did a little sketch here to help me work out how many I needed. And when I'm first going into the pattern, okay, it's in pattern right here as I'm coming along the row, and then after the first short row it falls out of pattern, and then after the next one it falls back into the pattern right here in the middle, and then the next one it'll fall out of the pattern, and the next one it'll fall in the pattern. So I need 2 to help keep it in the middle in pattern. Now if this was like a 3 stitch repeat, then I would probably need 3 stitches where coming in or coming along the first part of the row would be in pattern and then out of pattern and then out of pattern again before we hit the middle, and then in, or excuse me, out, out, and then in. Okay, that's what I mean by you need to figure out, kind of map out before you actually use it, where it's going to fall out and where it's going to fall in. Now, where it falls out of pattern does not look very pretty, as you have seen for yourself. So what I try to do is get those as close as possible. We still need to do 1, maybe 2 stitches in between the short rows, and same on the out one, same on the other side. Now the difference is with this is the left edge wedge here, where the short rows are going to be. We're going to have to force it out of pattern right here between these 2 stitch markers, whereas the right edge wedge, it naturally falls out of pattern. And the reason we need to force it out of pattern here is because if we don't, it'll fall out of pattern as we're going across everything, and then the next one it'll fall back in pattern. And I don't like having this big old strip right across here of something out of pattern when I can have just a little bitty section right here out of pattern. And I'll show you what I mean with our example. Breaking out our trusty rusty hook. Whoop. At least it's not a moldy-oldy, right? Right. So, getting started, what I have done is I have gone ahead and done the foundation row and the first row to establish my pattern so that you will see. And what we're going to do is I am going to put these ones on a simple stitch and play around with it to make sure that you get as small a hole as possible. I've already worked out somewhere in my notes, pardon my heater, I've already worked out which does best. Unfortunately, I don't remember at this point, so we'll find out together. Alright, which one? Okay, I did not explain myself clearly on that. I've already worked out which one of these type, either the simple or the purl, makes the smallest hole. My notes seem to have vanished, so we're going to learn together which one works best. Now, I want these to fall on the exact same stitch when I do hit the short row. Okay, I'm not going to put them 1 stitch apart because, I beg your pardon, doing that, this will not end up being a simple stitch when we reach up here. This will actually end up stopping on a purl, which we don't want. So I'm going to do 2 stitches apart here, since it's a 2x2 repeat, in hopes that when I get up here it will be a simple that I am stopping short on and continuing. Okay, now we're going to do the same kind of planning over here. I want it nice and kind of big in the middle so you can see how nice it looks when it falls back into pattern, but we're going to try and keep the where it falls out of pattern as small as possible. Okay, now I did a purl over here. I would do a simple over here with the same hoops here, but I'm actually going to back it up to a simple here so you can really see it falling out of pattern over here. Okay, now to continue this, okay, remember we're going to go back and forth just like an old-fashioned typewriter. So we're going to first work our way over to the farthest one, okay, which is closest to the end, and then we're going to come back to this one, and then this one and this one, and then we're going to pick things up and complete the whole thing. Alright, now our pattern is simple purl, so we're going to purl our simples all the way over. My poor little worn out yarn. Okay, while maintaining our tension. Okay, now I'm not going to worry about tossing this out of alignment just yet. Okay, very, very important that I force it out, otherwise it's going to really mess up our pattern, but not this row. First, we're going to worry about getting our first right edge wedge done. If our ever so darling yarn cooperates with us. All the way across, and the goal is to get the middle as nice and maintained in pattern the whole time as possible. And that can get a little rough, but just play around and work with it and it'll come together. Oh, come on. Here we go. Remember, the first one we're going for is the one farthest from the center first. Okay, so not this one, but this one. And on that note, this is going to stop on simples, and these are going to stop on purls. Oops. Well, that happens to the best of us, right? Right. Okay. And now we have come to our first short row. We're going to treat it as a selvage edge, so I'm going to move this up so it's on a purl. Oh, well, what do you know? Learn something new together. Yarn over, pull through one. We're stopping exactly on the stitch that we want to. Okay, then we're going to yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two all the way back to this one, the first of our left edge wedge. My apologies. Okay, all the way back to our furthest left edge wedge marker from the center, which is right here. And if you'll remember, we're going to wrap it. Okay, so once again, you're taking the last two loops on the end of your hook, transferring them to your cable needle. Okay, taking the yarn from the, there you go, from the back between the hook and the cable needle to the front. Okay, you're going to transfer your wrapped loop onto the hook, leaving the other one, your return pass loop, still on the cable needle. You're going to take your yarn, pass it between the cable needle and the hook, whoop, without dropping your stitch to the back, and then transfer your return pass loop back onto the hook. Now we need to mark our wrap loop, and since this is a purl, I got to be absolutely sure of which one I'm pulling forward so I don't accidentally stretch the stitch out. Mark that in the loop and bring it forward. We're going to ignore the stitch right here that's attached to the return pass loop because that's already been worked, and we're going to work the next one. Now, I'm actually going to do this one out of pattern and this one, and then the rest of them I will do in pattern. So this is a purl. I am going to purl my purl. Okay? And I'm going to simple my simple. Okay, that throws this little section out of whack. Now we need to get back into, begging your pardon, while I untangle my yarn. Come on, yarn. There we go, that's better. Okay, getting back to this. Now we're going back to the middle section and back to working our way towards the right edge wedge. Okay, so we need to go back into pattern, and this is a purl, so we're going to simple it. Okay, and we deliberately had to toss this out of whack so that it will in fact line up when I do the pick up across everything. So we keep going. I had a lot of trouble with that section, which was part of the holdup on the full dart not getting published for you guys. Was I'd made a mistake, erased everything, and couldn't fix it. So, there we go. All the way to our marker. And look, we're purling it just like the other one. See? Stopped on a purl, stopped on a purl. So we move our stitch marker up. Now, throwing it out of whack, we had to do it when we were coming back this way, because once we come back this way to work the last of our left edge wedge over here, okay, we don't involve these stitches at all when working with this one. So it had to be on the last row that we just worked. Okay. Now, coming back to our right edge wedge, we want to treat this as a salvage edge. So yarn over, pull through one, then yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, all the way back to our last left edge wedge, short row. And just with our last one, like our full dart, whoop, went too far. The full dart with simple stitch, we follow the line straight down to see where the stitch marker is, and you want to stop just short of it. Okay, then we're going to take the cable needle, we're going to take off the last two stitches. Okay, we're going to take our yarn, pass it between the hook and the cable needle, just like that. See, nice and in between. Okay, bringing it around to the front. Then take our wrapped loop, or loop to be wrapped, put it on our hook, move the return pass out of the way. Okay, take the yarn, put it between the hook and the cable needle. Put our return pass back onto the hook, move the stitch marker up into the loop, and this time it stopped on a simple because we threw it out of whack, which was very necessary. Okay, And now that we have everything wrapped, we're going to come and pick everything up and then work everything off completely. So once again, we will be dealing with these as we pick them up, and then we will be dealing with these as we return past them off. Okay, so falling in pattern, we're going to ignore the stitch that's attached to the loop, last loop on the hook. And you're going to pick up the next one in pattern. It's a purl, so now we want to do a simple. Okay, and then purl, simple, simple the purls, purl the simples. Whoop. Oh, come on, fuzzy. Begging your pardon. There we go. Alright, and the yarn once again wants to tangle on me. It's tired. It's okay. Been a long day. Whoop. Come on, you. Just getting fuzzies everywhere, and I don't know why. Alright, so back to simpling our purls and purling our simples. And thank you so much for sticking with me throughout this whole crazy process. The polish on my fingers after this will be officially retired for a few years. Oof, man. But I hope you get lots and lots of use out of this technique. I am dying to see what you do with it. Okay, now we have come to our, not the fuzzy, to our return pass, or excuse me, the short row selvage edge of our right edge wedge. Okay, we are going to simple in just the front loop of it. See, there's the, hold on, let me show you. Straighten yourself out. There's a little sideways V, and we're going to ignore the sideways V and just do the front vertical bar. Bring up a loop. Okay, and see, we're still in pattern. We have purl the simple, simple the purl the simple, and simple this purl. Now, down here in the return pass, remember, here's the crisscross, and right here is that third yarn right there, and that's where we want to stick our hook. So we could pick up our odd loop, see, crisscross, and then there's the third. Okay. We pick up that. Now we move the stitch marker to the odd loop, because we're going to need that for the return pass. Okay. Then coming down here, let's see, we simpled this purl. We're going to hold on. That's right, this falls out of whack, and this is where you're going to see it fall out of whack. So this was simpling. Back up a couple. Simple, purl, simple. We need to purl this one down here, and it is a purl. And remember, I said it does need to go out of whack so that when you're totally done going across the top, you can be right back in pattern where you need to be. Okay, now we're going to simple the simple and purl the purl just in this section for now. Okay, and we're back to this. We're going to purl our purl just in the front vertical bar. Okay, now we reach down and we look at the return pass of the previous row, and here's the crisscross, and here is the third yarn that you want to go in between. Okay, see, crisscross. Whoop. Come on, you. Crisscross on top, and third yarn right there, and that's where your hook goes. Pull it up, mark your new odd loop. Okay, now looking back, we have purl, simple, purl. We now need to simple the purl. Look, we've fallen right back into pattern. That is absolutely lovely. Follow the pattern all the way to the end. If I haven't done it already, I'd like to thank everyone for subscribing to my little channel. I'm touched, really I am, and humbled. Alright, now we're back to our regular selvage edge. Okay, so we want to go through the V like normal, the side V of the return pass. You have your side V right there. Then you have that third vertical bar right there, just like you normally would. Yarn over, pull up loop, yarn over, pull through one. Now we're going to yarn over, pull through two until we get to our marked loops, because we do need to deal with them, and we need to pair them with the short row stitches where we had stopped that they belong with. So stop just in front of it, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through three: the return pass, the odd loop, and the short row loop. 1, 2, 3, just like that. And leave your stitch marker because we are going to need it next row. Okay, so yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two until you get to your next odd loop. Okay, and here we are, and once again, we're going to yarn over, we're going to pull through three this time. Sorry. The three loops are your return pass, your odd loop, and your short row yarn, or your short row loop, just like that. Then you're going to go back to yarn over, pull through two until we get to the left edge wedge. Whoop, short rows. I said two, not three. All the way back. Okay, and here we are. So now what we need to do is we need to take the last two loops off of the hook and onto our cable needle. Okay, push them to the other end of your cable needle, and now you're going to take your wrapped loop, put it onto the cable needle, and you're going to work it so that the wrap loop falls in between the return pass loop and what was your wrapped stitch. So it goes return pass, wrap, and stitch. Now we're going to put them back onto the hook without loosening anything. Come on, you. There we go. Now we're going to yarn over and we're going to pull through three: the return pass, the odd loop, and the stitch next to it. Ta-da! Then we're going to yarn over in the correct spot, pull through just two, yarn over, pull through two again. Okay, and we're going to rinse and repeat. We're going to put the last two stitches on the cable. We're going to push them to the other end. We're going to take the wrap and we're going to put it in, work it so that it is in between your return pass. It should go your return pass, your wrap, and your stitch. The wrap should be in between the other two. Ah, we lost a loop. Oh, good, we got it. Don't panic, just get it back on. Now, we're going to transfer the stitches back onto the hook. We're going to yarn over and we're going to pull through three. That was your return pass, your wrap, and your stitch. And then we're going to go back to yarn over, pull through two, if our yarn cooperates. Yarn over, pull through two all the way to the end. Okay, so we have worked everything on and off. Now this time the stitch markers are once again there so that you can ignore these loops and actually put your stitches right where they belong. And here comes the real test. It should fall in pattern, out of pattern, in pattern, out of pattern, in pattern. Okay, so here we go. We have a purl, we want to simple it. And then purl the next. And simple the next. And if we have done this right, it will work out just like the little sketch that we had. Okay, and simple the purl, purl the simple, simple the purl, ignore the odd loop, and we're going to purl the next. We're going, look, it's falling out of pattern, but across here it's falling back into pattern. Okay, we're going to simple the next, purl the next, then we're going to ignore our odd loop, We're going to simple the next. We're going to purl the next, and look, we are on our center section and it's falling right back into pattern, right exactly where it should be. Yay for us! So, just remember when working this, you do have to plan out your stitch pattern and play with it. And make sure your yarn cooperates. And force the left edge wedge sections out of pattern. Okay, they will not naturally fall out of pattern. You got to force them out of pattern for it to work out beautifully across the middle. Because I don't know about you, but usually the center is going to be front and center for everybody and their brother to see, and you don't want odd little stitches right here. These can be hidden because you can barely see that unless I show you what you're looking for. All the way down here, back up, and all the way up there. But it's a small section, so it's a lot less noticeable. This one, however, you have two big old U's, two big old things right out of pattern. So it's a little more noticeable. This is why having this fall out of pattern and being a little more noticeable, because it's a much larger section, is exactly why I try to keep the sections that fall out of pattern as small as possible. Now, getting back to this, we're going to work back into pattern all the way across. Okay. Okay, here it is. Took me a second to find where on earth it goes. Okay, now we're going to ignore our odd loop here, and we're going to go to the next one, which is a simple. Then purl the next one. We're going to simple the next one. Okay, we're going to, where'd we stop? That was simple, purl, simple. So this one is a purl. Then a simple. Then we're going to ignore our odd loop. That's why I left that's why I left the stitch markers there, so I could know exactly where to ignore. Then you're going to, let's see, simple, purl, simple. So we're going to purl the next one, ignoring our odd loop. We're going to simple and purl and simple. Get the hair out and purl. And then we're going to do our normal selvage edge right where it belongs. Yarn over, pull through one, and then we're going to return past normal across everything. So it's yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, all the way across the mess. And we're going to work one more row of this so that we can be absolutely sure that things have fallen right back into pattern. And I personally like having 2 rows or 2 rounds of stuff in pattern before I do any shaping. You don't absolutely have to, but it's one less thing to worry about. Or even just one row or round going around would be good, would be nice, so that all you have to do is focus on the short rowing instead of having to do increases or decreases along the sides. Whew, that'd get rough. But if it works for you, hey, more power to you, right? Right. All the way back. We're going to do one more row. Pull that a little snug. And not pull through 2, you turkey. Pull through 1. Oh, good gracious me. Just keep on going. My furnace says hello. There we go. Trying to hold this so you can see it. Oh, got it. Sorry, I'm trying to speed this up fast as I can so that you can see the end results. Nearly there, nearly there. Normal salvage edge, normal return pass. All the way back. Whoop. Stay. And we keep going. And there we go. We have done it. Yay! Give yourselves a huge pat on the back and a woo! To boot. Now, looking across the top, you will see that if I covered the sections that we fell out of pattern, right across the top, it maintains and falls into pattern across everything, which means we have done this section correctly and this section correctly. If we had not, you would see it start out in pattern, then fall out of pattern and stay out of pattern across the rest on the row directly above where we did our short rows. And it would be quite the mess. So that's one way that I know of that you can tell whether you have done it correctly or not as you're experimenting around with your own stuff. With this, don't forget it needs to be at least 1 stitch apart and at least 1 stitch apart still. Now looking at for holes, I really don't see much of one here. Maybe a little bitty one here. But if I had this across like a sweater without a shirt underneath, I would not be ashamed to have that size hole across some vital parts. Now this one, you'll see that it's a much bigger hole here. Let's take a look at this one. Yeah, that's a pretty fair size hole. So instead of stopping on, we stop on, I think it was a pearl that we stopped on. Next time I do this, it will be a simple that I stop on, considering the size of that hole. I would blush to have that stretched across me. This I wouldn't. This I would be okay. So next time I would do stop on a simple stitch on this instead of a pearl, so I don't have what I consider a pretty gaping hole. Woo! Don't want that. Possible uses for this thing. I could see a corset with it goes across the bust and you're piecing it together. You know, you've got the front piece, you've got the back piece, you've got the center piece, the side piece, whatever, across the knees, across the hip, across the rear. any place you need that little extra oomph in your sweater or whatnot, or want to give it a little extra shaping, make sure that you sketch and plan it out where you need to fall in and out of pattern and stick to it. Remember that you're going to need to force it out of pattern when working the left edge wedge short rows. Very, very important. Otherwise, you will be absolutely fine. Thank you so much, once again, for joining me for this technique. I hope you have enjoyed learning how to do this as much as I have enjoyed bringing it to you. I hope you go absolutely crazy with it and do your own designs and whatnot with it. Tune in, join me next time for when we take our lovely little dart and add yet another twist to it and put it in, put it in the round. Now this is some pretty rough stuff, and you definitely need to know how to do the dart and master it flat before you tackle it in the round, because this is just whole heaps of headaches. However, as you can see, it can give you some fun effects. Remember that little corset I was talking about? Ooh, you could even put it across your knuckles. Kind of like that. Right across your knuckles. Right like that. But as you see, doing it will give you this nice little curve going up. All right. Hope you'll join me for part 7. And I will see you then with Hook It the Ready.